10 Thinking!
I'm Sean Broudeseth, and I've been thinking about the new year coming. Well, we're rapidly heading into 2023. We're about to turn the corner. And obviously, at the end of the year, we consider a lot of things. We consider the year that's passed, the lives we've lived, and we look to the new year. We look to what we want to do differently. Often what happens is we've had areas of sin, weakness, things that have actually oppressed us or they've been footholds in our lives. We almost want to start measuring from January the 1st. You know, I'll be different. From January the 1st, I'll live a new life. I have actually in the past in preaching spoken against New Year's resolutions as silly, futile, pointless, something the world does. I've actually changed my mind on that. I think I was wrong to do that. I think resolutions are great. Paul said to the Corinthians, I resolved to know nothing while I was among you except Christ crucified. I think making resolutions is a good idea. I think in my life, I actually could have made more resolutions and resolved more things. The problem is with dead resolutions. When something's just dead and you decide, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be different. It has no life to it. You're not able to actually walk in it. And what happens is you just start getting discouraged by February. You start thinking, what a waste, I'm so useless. And you just get into a hole because you've declared this thing that you're going to be different in and do differently. Well, I want to encourage us by using one particular example when it comes to deciding we're going to do things differently. I've spent a lot of time with drug addicts, and I have a great love in my heart for drug addicts, a great compassion for them, and a desire to see them set free. I've spent a lot of time with people who are captive to heroin, and I've never seen anything like that capture people and imprison them in that way. And I think increasingly and in our lives, we've actually got to, in a sense, think of ourselves with sin as that. Sin actually masters us sometimes. And the Bible says a man is a master, a slave to whatever has mastered him. And so I see how in drug addicts, there's the sense of, I'm going to break out of this, I'm going to be different. And just being unable to break out of it. I've had some addicts come to me and say, you're going to see me in a while, I'll never be doing this again. I'm going to go travel around to schools, I'll tell them how to be free. And they just straight back into it. Well, I read Jackie Pullinger's book, Chasing the Dragon, recently. It was an absolutely incredible book, amazing story. She's still alive, she's a really amazing woman. And one of the things it did in my life is it awakened in me again the power of praying in the Spirit, of praying in tongues, the gift of the Holy Spirit, in order to break free of something, in order to make that resolution and decide you're going to be different, the power of doing it through the Holy Spirit and not just by yourselves. What they would do when someone would get born again, they were born again but still very much a drug addict, still very much on heroin, and actually needed to go to rehab, and I advise rehab for drug addicts. But what they would do was say, you need to be filled with the Holy Spirit. We need to pray with you. We need to pray over you in tongues and keep praying and trusting the power of God. It didn't work for everyone. Some people needed to go to rehab, but many actually got delivered powerfully by the power of the Holy Spirit. She would ask people who wanted to join her team and minister with her. She'd say, can you pray for about 7 hours? And can you pray in tongues? Because if you can't, you're not going to be able to actually stand in solidarity with these people who've been born again and to see them set free. She'd say the people who are born again, we need to pray for you now to be full of the Holy Spirit. And they'd be full of the Holy Spirit and they'd pray in tongues and they'd contend and they would combine a resolution in their lives, which was, I'm going to do this differently, with the power of the Spirit breathing life on them. It must be those together. I've spent too much time in my life saying, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to be a new man, but ignoring the power of the Spirit. And I'm finding God's taking me back to that. Pray in tongues. Spend time when there's a battlefield in your mind, for example, when your mind wants to go to places where Jesus isn't Lord. Pray in tongues. Call on the Lord. You know what I'm finding? I've still got to apply myself with discipline, but I find the power of God takes a hold of me. And as I do that, I rely on the power of the Spirit. And actually, God does deliver me from those things that hold me back. Well, I just want to encourage you as we go into the new year, that we would be people who make resolutions, that we would be people who say, I want to be different. God, for your glory, I want to be different. I want to cast this off. I want to put this on. I want to get rid of this. I want to adopt this in my life. But we would always be saying, God, help me. Help me. And we would not ignore the power He has given us, which is the power of the Holy Spirit.
The end!